have to fix my hair, right? I palm my hair. No, man, I didn't. My glasses dirty. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Got me? So look how I corrupt you. Absolutely. When they have power and authority, they don't give a damn about your body. When they have power and authority, they don't give a damn about your body. When they have power and authority, they don't give a damn about you and me. Okay, we go. Hi, you're tuned in to Just Jamila. You know the rules. I talk about what I want to talk about until you call to change the subject. So call 773-0390 or 773-0490 and get to know and talk to me because I'm Just Jamila. My aunt them will be vexed with me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I know my auntie them gonna be mad with me for fixing my hair on the People M radio station. But good morning, good morning. It is Saturday, February 21st, 2026. And you guys are tuned in. You're at 9:70 a.m. on your radio dial. And my absolute favorite people, my original, I love you guys, my old school diehard radio listeners. So I need to say good morning to y'all first and foremost, and then the audience that'll keep me on my toes on a regular, um, that does set up my pressure, does inbox me, text me, call me, abuse me off, but still continue to show me love and support my Facebook listeners. Good morning to all of you. And then to those of you listening on WSTXradio.com, thank you guys for all tuning in. It's another beautiful Saturday here on on St. Croix. And before we begin, let me just get some niceties and all of that stuff out of the way. Yesterday, the Virgin Islands laid the man who delivered me, you know, the man who delivered me to rest, Dr. Ralph D. Chabert. He was the doctor who delivered me. And I found out, much to my chagrin, I've never really paid attention to like where I was born. I just always assumed like, my grandmother lived in Harrigan Court, and the Ingeborg Nesbitt Clinic was right there in Frederiksted. For some reason, in my brain, for as long as I have been born, up until what day was it? It was the day the Department of Tourism was testifying in front of the legislature. So it wasn't this last week, but it was the week before. And it wasn't until that day, because Kenny Milligan was like, I ban it. I's a real West Ender. I ban in Ingeborg Nesbitt. I was like, me too. He was like, no, everybody else ban in Christiansted. I just happened to be ban. I was like, you sure? I was like, no, I ban in Frederiksted. And then he was like, no, you sure? And he was like, I know I banned it because I guess his mom went into labor, and he was an accidental birth at the Ingeborg Nesbitt Clinic. And so I did what any good Frederiksted would do. I pick up the verify, because I just know I was born in Frederiksted. So I call Letty. Why Letty went Christiansted? This is the thing that I'm talking about. Like, why did she go to Christiansted? Why she just didn't go to Ingeborg Nesbitt? I don't understand. And so I'm beyond perplexed. And so I found out I was not born in the town of Frederiksted. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just a little bit sad by that fact, but I'm working to get over it. And I usually don't envy people, and I don't get jealous of people unless, like, I don't get jealous. Not really. Sometimes, but not like for like things and stuff. But like, I am super jealous of Kenny. Yeah. I'm very upset with Kenneth Milligan because he was born in Frederiksted and I wasn't. And so, yeah, that's what's going on in my world today. Just a little bit sad about that fact. And wish that I know Ingeborg. I mean, no Charles Harwood. I was born in Charles Harwood, but I ain't even born there no more apparently, because it named to the Donna Christian. What the right name is now? Donna Christiansen. So, but our birth paper was still said Charles Harwood, because Charles Harwood is what existed when we went there, right? And now somebody help me. So when they asked me what hospital I was born in, I still refer to as, so I have to say Charles Harwood, now the Donna Christiansen Hospital. That would be the right answer, because I wasn't born in the Donna Christiansen, because the building wasn't named after her. I was still born in Charles Harwood, and my birth paper would reflect that. Just our history books have to now show that in whatever year it was, the Charles Harwood Hospital was renamed the Donna Christiansen. Y'all know what I mean. I'm getting tied up with her name. So, all right. But other than that, I'm happy. I want to say my cousin Diane Alec wants to extend thank yous to everybody who called and wished her a happy birthday, who sent a message, who saw her. She said she had a wonderful birthday celebration and she completely enjoyed um, her weekend. And, you know, I was harassing her, but I went back in my phone and she did send me a list of activities that she was doing that for her birthday weekend. But see, the good thing about certain family members like Diane know like I don't do them. I don't do like group things. Like I don't do like if me and she lime in, me and she lime in. I don't do like parties and eh. People don't realize like I'm actually an introvert. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. I'm really an introvert. And so I don't really like, I mean, if I'm out, I'll be sociable. But if I don't have to go out, um, and if I had to choose being around people versus not being around people, I would choose not being around people all day, every day. Like I can live in a house with dark curtains and my mother asked me if I was a vampire because at one point I had a I had a black curtains in my house. Now they're not black, they're like burgundy, but they're very dark, rich burgundy. And it blocks out the light from the outside world and I can just be in the yeah. I like, peace and home. But anyways, what happened to Anne? Good morning, Anne. What are you saying? I have to ask Anne. Well, listen, we have lots and lots of things to talk about, but let me get one good thing out of the way because we have a lot of not so, well, I guess they're all good things, but a lot of not so good things to talk about too. Y'all know the rules. I talk about what I want to talk about until you call to change the subject. I actually wrote down, y'all know I have a notebook, and if somebody find my notebook, they could blackmail me with the things that'll be written down, right? But I wouldn't pay because I write it, so I would probably say it, so it don't really matter to me. But I walked with my notebook and I have my list of subjects that I would like to touch. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them because I have some that stretch back like 3 weeks now. Every Saturday I have topics that I want to reach to that I didn't reach to. So now, who you want to answer her phone? Anne. Answer your phone, Anne. People calling you, you're answering the phone. Okay, she gonna answer star. Okay, so one of the good things that's happening is, and I'm going to, after I've talked about this, because his birthday is coming up, and Judge the Honorable Emil Henderson, he's the third. Emil Henderson the third. His birthday is coming up in March. Y'all who are friends and family to him, we all know the rules. He's been alive now for a lot of years, so please follow the rules. But I want to share that the Dave Edwards Foundation is hosting a double Dutch competition. So Afro Jump Synchro is coming to the Virgin Islands, to Island Center on March 7th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Right, and it's a high energy double Dutch event. Let me read it. Let me read the press release so y'all can hear it, right? Afro Jump Synchro is coming to start over. Take 2. Afro Jump Synchro is coming to Island Center on March 7th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. This high energy double Dutch event is being brought to the community by the Dave Edwards Foundation in partnership with the NADDO, the National Association of Double Dutch Organizations, and will feature national teams performing right here in the Virgin Islands. Admission is $10 for adults and $5 for children, with free activities for the kids. There will also be a competitive double Dutch training workshop on March 5th at 6 p.m. at the Canagator Rec Center, sponsored by the Virgin Islands Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. Participants can receive competitive training, adults can get certified in coaching and judging, and teams will be formed to learn a routine for the March 7th competition. To sign up, call or text Deja Brooks at 201-1488. Well, I am going to call my good friend Emil because back in the day in Harrigan Court, we used to play jump rope and we used to play double Dutch. And at Good Hope, not at Good Hope, at what other school I went to name? Lord, at St. Dunstan's, we used to do double dutch. I could jump double dutch. I was a double dutch queen. I could have jumped double dutch, spin a rung in double dutch, touch a grung in double dutch. I could have do double dutch. Now, mind you, I was always on the chunky side, but I am super chunky now. You know, yeah, I'm like lump meat now. but I think I can still jump double dutch. And the Honorable Emil Henderson III, judge, I know him as Milo, and in his capacity as Milo, he could have jumped double dutch too. And y'all know me and Milo does do things for to support activities. I'm going to challenge him to double dutch me. I think I could beat Milo in double dutch. I don't think he could double dutch now. I am going to call my good friend, the judge, and ask he probably won't be on the island because he typically takes some time off. But if he's here, I know he'll be there because he supports everything for children. He's supportive of the community. So y'all, I'm going to be double dutching. So on March 7th, I am going to relearn how to double dutch. And there's rules to getting into the double dutch because you're supposed to touch a rope when you're going into double dutch. So you're supposed to jump in clean. Your girl was smooth. And it's always good when you see classmates that remind you of the things that you used to do in school. And so the Dave Edwards Foundation, I think Denise Christian Edwards, this is named after her son who was a victim of violence that died. And so, she's formed this foundation to support other mothers who've lost children. And, Denise and Kim and, Charmaine, all of these people are such strong women that have lost and had to bury their child, their children, some by, sudden death by accident, some by illness, some by violence. And they have the strength to go on. I think that God spared me because he know I's a punk and I weak and I would have been a shriveled up, shoveled up mess. And they continue to be part of this community, continue to pour themselves into this community. And they do so beautifully, So they're always in my thoughts. And their strength is something that continues to amaze me. And so if you can go out and support this event, I'm hoping that you do. If you can, find it in your hearts, in your pockets. I know times are hard to be able to sponsor. Please reach out to them. All right. So there's a lot of things to talk about. Y'all can list the topics in the Facebook chat if y'all want me to, or you can text me. You have my number. You can text me. And we will, good morning, Emanuela. How are you? We will discuss some of the topics y'all want to talk about. All right. But let me tell you what I have listed for today. Let me read my notebook. And then y'all tell me if y'all interested in these. So I have Ag Fair last Saturday. What candidates showed up present? Delegate race, new names being mentioned. New judge named to the district court. A political survey that I received. Cases transferred and political process explained. And see, some of y'all won't know like what my notes are, what my notes mean. And then, okay, I covered all of those last time. And the last one that I had missing was a rezoning for St. Thomas. But that was old. That was from January 10th. It was a proposed housing in St. Thomas for workers. So that's all that I have written down for this week. So where y'all want me to start? I got a text, and let me see what my text says. My text wants me to say, that they must have a Charles Howard wing in the new building. I agree because I was born in Charles Howard. Okay, so I agree. All right. And then another text asked me why I mess with my hair. I did not. Um, I did not. I did not. I did not perm my hair. Um, yeah, y'all who to be listening to me know this for a long for two times out of the year, like in February and again in like August or September, right around my birthday, and then August or September, I go in and I get my hair like a super deep conditioner, and they clip my ends at the I get it done. Why my girl gonna be upset with me? She right there in Plaza is two sisters. They're from the Dominican Republic. Why I can't remember the girl name now, but that's the only place I go to. I go to her. I used to go to Santa, right here in town, but Santa has slowed down a lot and blow drying my hair. You know, I don't feel bad. You know, but I if you know I typically go to either the girl in Plaza East Shopping Center. It's two sisters have a little shop in there, and then and I can't remember her name, and I don't know the name of the store. And then or I go right here across from St. John's Anglican Church to Santa. If I want my hair color, I don't go to Santa, and Santa will color my hair, and then she don't typically blow dry it. She'll just condition it, and you know, she'll like braid it, put it in braids for me because it's natural. But I try not to have it blow dry because this temperature, this weather, you may a blowout don't last. So this is a blowout. That's all it is. I didn't. Yeah, that's all this is. All right. So I didn't. Egon, you know, I'm trying to keep it because we have a meeting in St. Thomas on Monday. So I'm trying to see how long it could last. But this whole wrapping thing, I don't even know how to wrap my hair. So I don't wrap my hair. I'd just I'd pin it up like this and then put on a hat over it. Yeah. Because yeah. And then and you know, and people like buy a silk scarf. I use a regular paisley head tie and tie it around my head. I ain't got no time for all of that nonsense. All right. So who was here from St. Thomas on Saturday? And you've been over here? My St. Thomian listeners were over here. I need to know if my St. Thomian listeners were over here. Well, I did not go to the opening session of the Ag Fair. And but apparently candidates came out. And typically during an election year, and typically it'll be, you know, when there's a incumbent governor and it's a midterm election for them and a new candidate is coming out, it'll just be like, you know, the incumbent and then, you know, the one known challenger that people been lining up behind to challenge the sitting governor would be at the Ag Fair, and it would be the clash of the t-shirts. I get me spitting on myself. The clash of the t-shirts. And but this Saturday, last Saturday, I should say, there were a clash of the t-shirts, but everybody had on white t-shirts. So a lot of white t-shirts. And so coming from far with everybody wearing white t-shirts, you know, for the regular folks, you'd have to wait until they get close to see the difference because white is white from far with print on it, unless the print is like a neon print. But the candidates were out there last Saturday. I saw FOR t-shirts. I saw Team Plasket t-shirts, and I saw DFG Donald t-shirts. And then I saw a singular picture with Hope. And I had to ask, and somebody tell me that's for Jedja and Hope. I saw like a blue t-shirt, I want to believe it was, on the internet. Morning, mommy, how are you? I saw it on like the internet. So there were people. And then of course, when I left here, I nosy. So I'm in Gallows Bay. So I drive by Gallows Bay, and it had taxis, had business because they had a bunch of taxis out there to transport the St. Thomians are coming. all of the St. Thomians that came over in the t-shirts. And so when I was, I passed through Gallows Bay, I did see those same three. All of them had on white. And I was like, oh, everybody wearing white. That's not going to look good down at the fair. So all three candidates had a presence at the agricultural fair on Saturday. So I guess it would be fair to say, get it? Clear on words? Fair to say that the horses are on the track. And so election season, the race to Government House 2026 has begun. And the teams, as we know it, are, and somebody told me, and maybe somebody share it with me, please. Somebody told me that there was a list floating around, but I don't like my phone, so I don't get these kind of I don't get those kinds of texts and stuff. But somebody share it with me. So the horses are on the track, and the teams that I know, I'm gonna say them in no particular order. And FYI, I happen to have, for the three big teams that I know, I actually am very close to somebody on a ticket. Like, so it's really weird. I am actually quite close, and y'all know I like to give y'all open disclosure. I don't hide stuff from y'all. So I'm going to go down the list and I shall tell y'all, right? So the first ticket is Team Plaskett. The delegate is, and I have not been a fan of the delegate's work in Congress. I think that she has her work, and I'm talking strictly about her work in Congress, because y'all like to say things me say, so make sure you say what I say. I was not a fan. I'm not a fan of her performance in Congress. And I have, and I need, as a Virgin Islander and as a voter, I want answers regarding her alleged relationship and continued relationship based on the latest release from DOJ on the Epstein matter. But her running mate is Milton Potter, who I am quite fond of. And, I've known Milton Potter from, I got to know him better in the MAP administration. His two brothers and I are friends, or were friends, one passed. And prior to all of this, Senator Potter, he's now the Senate President of the legislature. When he entered the legislature, I, of course, as I do with anybody, I always say, oh, if I can be of assistance, and, just call me anytime. That's the kind of person that I am. And I used to tell him, and he'll tell you, he gets a pass because his brother is Fata Pata. And okay, thank you. I love my people. Thank you. So I was extremely close with his brother Fata Pata. He followed me when in my first iteration here on 970, and he was one of those people that would call me. And so I have a relationship with Milton Potter. So imagine that he's running with somebody that I did not like her performance as delegate to Congress. I have not hidden that. That's just what it is. But I have a very solid relationship with Milton Potter. Then the next team that came, I had a presence. I actually have is Tregenza Roach, Esquire, and Novell E. Francis Jr. Those of you who've been listening to me for 100 million years know that Novell is my brother-in-law. Novell and I have known Novell E. Francis Jr. for, lad, plenty, long time. Like even before he became police commissioner Francis, I knew him. And so I've known Novell for an extremely long time. I am extremely fond of him. I consider him a friend. He's somebody that even when I have disagreed with him, I've come onto this radio station and talk about the loitering bill. He was like, I understand your position, Jamila, but trust me. And then I came back on here and I told you that the bill, I see the need for the bill. And he is running with Tregenza Roach. I will tell you that I originally thought that him and Donna Fred Gregory would have made the ideal team. I will just say it publicly. I thought that that was the ideal team, Donna Fred and Novell E. Francis, but that's not the team. The team is Tregenza Roach and Novell E. Francis Jr. And as y'all are aware, I was a supporter of Kenneth Mapp. And when that campaign was happening, and then Senator Roach was in the legislature, I did not appreciate some of the positions and the votes he took that I thought were against St. Croix. And now that he's running for governor, he's going to have to offer to me an explanation as to why he took those votes. Since that time, I have gotten to know the now Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach, and on face, he's not a bad person. He's a nice guy, and it's hard to, and I don't talk about people's personality. If your personal life has become part of the equation because of actions that you've taken, then it's open to public scrutiny. But Tregenza Roach, by all accounts, from most people that I have encountered, talk about his pleasant disposition. Then the third team is Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead. And, people who know that Donna tapped me to work with her when she became the president of the 34th legislature. She is somebody I worked closely with for 4 years. I know that she is capable. I know that she is prepared. I know that she has the love for the people of the Virgin Islands, but she's going to have to answer to the people of the Virgin Islands those questions that need to be answered. She's going to have to answer to the perspective that she's seen as, I can't say the word on air, but not being approachable or being a little bit too aggressive. She's going to have to answer to the people of the Virgin Islands about, let's just use the word temperament, because I can't think of a better word right now. And so all three teams, the major teams, I have a connection to, and and on paper, they all come with paper qualifications. So the delegate is an Esquire, the lieutenant governor is an Esquire, Donna is a double MBA, a double master's holder. So they're all on paper preeminently qualified to govern and lead. But to govern and lead does not end with what is on the paper. It speaks to your heart. It speaks to your moral compass, your ability to put your ego or your id aside for the betterment of the people of the territory, your willingness to say, hey, I need to prioritize A, B, and C, and your ability to make a tough decision, stand in that decision, and work to show the people that the decision that you've made was in their best interest. And so we're going to have a lot of discussions moving forward. I will allow all of those candidates who want to appear on Just Jamila to appear on Just Jamila. I will afford all of them the the same level of respect that I give to, I'd give everybody their respect, but that I would give to the sitting governor, or I will respect them and allow them to come and present their case to the people of the Virgin Islands, and I will appropriately and ask questions that I think is important. And so their questions, all of the candidates, have questions, and I think they're very legitimate questions that the community has that needs to be answered. And so I will afford all of them, their running mates, to come. If they want, they could come. You can, if you want to have your individuals call, you can call to have a conversation. But remember that I'm going to keep it above board. But I'm going to tell you something. Don't nobody chuck me off, because if you chuck me off, remember, I'm the verbal annihilator. So don't come for me unless I send for you. And if I send for you, know that you're done dead. Okay? So let's just put that out there. All right. So okay, somebody asked, Chantel Kana asked, who's Rodney Moorhead? I said Rodney, right? Okay, because Rodney is Ronald's brother. And y'all know how to explain people, right? Rodney is Ronald Moorhead's brother, but Rodney Moorhead is the principal. He's a principal at the St. Croix Educational Complex. All right? So that's who he is. And so everybody has to answer questions. And everybody, our politics become local. And people, you don't vote. People vote for individuals, differently, depending on how people make you vote. People look for credentials. Some people look for whether or not they know you, they have access to you. But I think that the Virgin Islands. And let me talk about the last candidate. I don't know who Jed John Hope is running with, but he's a candidate as well. And for me, I need to understand why you got a position on the WAPA board as a member, and then you didn't like how it was going, and instead of trying to implement the changes from within, you left. I don't like that. I don't want to use the word quit, but I don't like the vacating and the walking away. Young people like to say, I don't walk away to keep the peace. Sometimes you have to fight and be unpeaceful to get to a result that you want. But we'll ask him and we'll invite him up here. Okay, so all right, as per Glenn Smith, okay, NRM mean no running mate. Okay, all right. Adla Fancy Donna Stork supposed to be running, but he is a NRM, no running mate. Almando Rocky Libot, NRM, no running mate. Donna Fred Gregory, Rodney Moorhead. Then we have Gustav James, no running mate. Oh Lord, Court VLA, no running mate. I run with Court. Court have a running mate. It's Jamila Russell. Jed John Hope, no running mate. Oakland Benta is running with somebody named Bhagwan Prasad. I didn't know he was running, but he's running. Randolph Bennett, no running mate. Roy Sheridan, no running mate. Sheldon Turnbull, no running mate. Sheila Scullion, no running mate. Stacy Plaskett with Milton Potter. Stephen Frett, no running mate. Terrence Positive Nelson, no running mate. Tregenza Roach with Novell Francis. And then we have Warren Mosler with somebody named Colin Robertson, who, based on Mosler's payment thing, probably getting paid to run, maybe allegedly. And then it says, lastly, the big elephant in the room, this election is corruption. So far, only a few candidates have addressed this very serious situation. In the coming weeks, many of us remain hopeful, no pun intended, because that this will become a serious plank in the platform for our candidates. All right. So I don't know who Benta running mate is. Benta running mate, they say is Bhagwan Prasad. I don't know. Okay, Cheryl Benjamin said, I heard Marvin Blyden is VLA running mate. No, man, Marvin Blyden going to run the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority. That's where he would be the best fit. And then finally, we'll see some movement with House Game Bill and people. Yeah, me, But guess what? I don't work in a building with them. So on Monday, I will ask them. Maybe I'll ask. Let me see. Let me see if I could. When we take the 9 o'clock break, let me see if I could call. Oh, okay. So Gustav James and Randolph Bennett running together. So both of them didn't have running mates, and they come together, and now they're happily married. So okay. Oh wow. Oakland Benta even have Oakland Benta really running. He has a Together We Are One. That's his campaign slogan. And he's having a general meeting on February 28th at 6 p.m. All right. Well, the track crowded. Listen, that's a very crowded field. So on the break, I gonna see if I could call either Blyden or VLA, maybe both, and ask them and see if they're running, so that we could get a hot tea and share it on that's what the children say, right? The hot tea. I'm not going to use that. We're going to get a hot coffee, because I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm definitely somebody's cup of coffee. And let me tell y'all, pause. Let's take a moment here. I left my house and there was no power this morning, and I could not make my cup of coffee. As I take out the cup. Ow, I just break a fingernail. As I take out the cup to go put in the Keurig, the power went. So I've had no coffee for the morning. So I'm going to call. Yeah. But yeah, Blyden going to HFA. Somebody just text me. Yes, Blyden going to HFA. He's a housing man. And we don't need to bring in somebody else from America to run HFA. All right. So that's the candidates. Now, in other candidate news, I guess some more coffee for y'all. The hot Santo Domingan coffee is that there is now some additional persons throwing their hat into the delegate to Congress race. So we all know Janelle Sarro running. We all know Terry Helene is running. Those were the two names that we were hearing. Well, I can officially confirm that my flies on the wall, and that reminds me, I have a fly story to share with y'all, right? The flies on the wall have shared with me that former Judge Curtis Gomez from St. Thomas is going to be running for delegate to Congress. It is confirmed. It is official. He's reached out to individuals. He's asked for support. He is running. Also, and this one shocked me. I was pleasantly surprised to hear this name, because I think this person is brilliant. Delia Smith. Do you remember she was a former U.S. attorney here in the territory? Delia Smith. I think she's from St. John. She is running for delegate to Congress. So we're going to have a field for the first time for delegate to Congress of highly competent individuals who are going to be running. 3 women, 1 man so far. I think I want to say, I believe a woman get this race, but it's too early to tell. And so, all right, Peggy Moorhead, the phone number to call is 773-0390, 773-0490. So the horses for the delegate race, those are, listen, that was a hot cup of coffee. I was bringing it up, but as y'all can see, I forgot the power went. What's going on, Wapa? Chanel, Carl, can y'all put back on power, please? I need power. Thank you. I don't know what's going on, but let's get it there. All right, it is the 9 o'clock hour. Jen gonna be coming in here, and before Jen, I need to do the top of the station ID, top of the hour station ID, and I'm going to call the people them. Oh, Jesus. I tell them, I said, I'm going to call the people them. He said, I got text from my senators, and they said, don't call me, no habla English. Oh, that is too funny. That is too funny. So, oh no, I don't have the breakdown of party affiliations, but we're gonna do the station ID. I don't have to call, but I'm still going to call because I am not disgusting. Let's do the top of our station ID. Okay. The person needs to hold on. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
My peoples don't have like English. Okay. Let me call my other peoples.
Stand up for compassion. Stand up for respect. Stand up for your community. Stand up for your future. Stand up for Virgin Islands. WSDX.
Morning, Jamila.
Morning, my love. I on the radio and the people say you're running with Court VLA. So I tell them you're going housing. Hi.
Okay, now.
Okay, we're back. Can you guys hear me?
Now we're back.
Oh, okay. Hi, guys. Okay. Oh, answer Wapa put up on Facebook the outages on St. Croix. What it is? What feeders? Oh, okay. Let me go on Facebook. I don't have to log in with my password. Hold on. Okay. How you to find it? Facebook. Put this. How I help me now? Wapa. Return. Okay, it's taking so long for me to find it. I can't find it, but okay, so I guess it's out some outages on St. Croix. Good morning, Miss Parija. How are you? So my people don't speak no English on Saturday. I call them and they say no speaking the English, but they say yo amo tu mi amiga. So that's what I was told. So I can't get a hot tea or a hot coffee for y'all. But I will say this: if VLA and Blyden do run, now that makes this race that ain't a big three. It's gonna be a big four, cause that's a big them there is big house. Yeah, that would be a big four. That ain't a big three, that becomes a big four. But we will see. I will work on your behalf of my beautiful listening audience. I'm gonna work on your behalf, and I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to see if I could slip in the question during regular working hours and ask them, okay? And once I get a coffee, oh, we're gonna go. All right. Okay, so that being said, there has been a new judge a new judge has been named to the district court. Let me share that with y'all. I think you'd pronounce his name Ricky. Let me go to my WTJX app. And y'all, I've said this before and I'll continue to say it. I get my I typically write things. I read the news from here because Tom Ader does a good job at writing and doing good investigative reporting. So Assistant Attorney General Christopher Timmons has been named a magistrate judge on St. Croix, and so he's a magistrate judge. He's been named, and then Yolande Brow Ross, she's been renamed, and then also with a woman, Simone Van Hoyten Turnbull has been also reappointed to serve in the St. Thomas St. John district as a magistrate. But the president announced, I don't have, where did I find? I need to find it. But the president assigned Wilma, I'll find it. Wilma Lewis' term has ended and the president has named a new judge for our district court. As soon as I remember his name or I find it in the story, I'll tell you. Stephen Payne was sentenced to 25 years in jail. And the judge Meredith Charbola has sentenced him to 25 years in prison. I listened to Isabel Tear on the trial watch, and she said that the prosecution had recommended 25 years, and the judge made it clear that the victim had also recommended something, but she was putting aside the victim's request and staying in line with the prosecution request, that the prosecution requested this, so you get 25 years in jail and then 10 years probation. And I want to thank the young lady. Let me get her name for you. And there's a lot of people. Who are, you're victim shaming or whatever, but Steffi, Emilian, however you pronounce her name, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, but I want to tell her she is a brave human being. For the record, she self-identified herself. And so often, women who have been victimized go by Jane Doe. She did not file her case as a Jane Doe because she was taking back who she was. She was reclaiming herself. She was reclaiming her power. And I want Steffi to know that I see her, that I recognize the strength that lives within her, the courage that lives within her, and that she is seen and that she is supported. Women who have been victimized, it's traditional that newspapers don't call their names. And for those that wish to remain anonymous, I respect them. However, this young lady wants to reclaim a part of herself that, according to the law and to a jury of his peers, that Stephen Payne took from her. And in her, I see strength, I see resilience, and I see beauty. And I thank Isabel, who first interviewed her, and she asked Isabel not to distort her voice, not to not to hide who she was, for being so gentle in that initial interview with our public broadcasting station. And I applaud her for her courage in standing and facing her accuser, who, if you've ever been in a space with him, is very intimidating. He has an intimidating presence. And I want her to know that I am so proud of her and that what happened to her was not her fault. He was a sick man. He is a sick man. And 25 years, to me, ain't long enough. And with that, who want to be vexed? Who vex dead? Who dead bury? Kick rocks. All of you who want to support Chester the molester. No, I rang. So, all right. I got that off my chest. I needed to get it off my chest. And I got it off my chest. All right. So, I can't remember okay. I don't remember who I'm going to remember who. Somebody's going to text me the name of the new judge that the president appoint for our jurisdiction. I can't remember who he is, but somebody else just sent me another thing. Oh, wow. Okay. Peggy Moorhead just told me that Shelly Moorhead is also running for Shelly Moorhead is also running for delegate to Congress. All right. So that's a very good field. We have Delia Smith, Curtis Gomez, Janelle Sarro, Terry Helenese, and Shelly Moorhead. This is going to be an interesting and good, that's a good mix there. And so, with Shelly in the race, they have a 2/5 chance of getting a male. All right. Apparently my outage was a planned outage, so maybe that I don't need to be, thank God I wasn't enraged, right? Apparently there's a scheduled electrical service interruption from 7 a.m. this morning to noon. I clearly wasn't paying attention to it on feeder 6B, 8B, 9B, and 10B. And the purpose of the outage is to allow contractors to enter the manhole and complete the Queen Mary Highway Phase 1 underground project. Thank you for your support and understanding. And apparently it started when I was about to make my thank you, Anne. And I want to thank Anne for sending it to me. I'm reading it now. Thank you, Anne, for sending me that information. All right. So the two pending cases, which is Charlemagne's and his wife, they've been reassigned to a new judge. I still don't understand how all of these other cases that come up after Darren Richardson case, these people get sentenced, Stephen Payne gets sentenced, and Darren Richardson ain't get sentenced yet. So my spidey senses is telling me, and I could be wrong, my spidey senses is telling me that Darren Richardson is, now that he's been convicted, he is probably being a parrot with and a chatterbox with the FBI saying, who else do you want? I want to cut down my time to maybe probation. So let me rat on everything I know about the Virgin Islands government and maybe I'll have my time reduced, because I don't understand. The same attorney for him was an attorney on the other case moved forward. So the fact that Darren Richardson case keeps getting postponed and there's no scheduling of his sentencing tells me that now that he's convicted, he's cooperating, and so that the prosecution could recommend probation or something. That's just me. I don't know. Maybe I feel like he has now got a vocal instructor and the person is teaching him how to sing. So he is practicing his singing and he is going to give a performance of his lifetime and get some awards. And the awards that he's going to receive gonna be probation. That's just me. I could be wrong. All right. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. but the new district court judge's name is Evan Rick. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Rikhye. I don't know how you to pronounce that. Rikhye, Evan Rikhye. Okay, so that's gonna be our new. So I'm just thinking that's what's happening with Darren and this new judge Evan Rikhye. I guess he has to be approved. Yeah, district court judges get approved through the Senate. So we'll see how that hearing goes. And there we go. We have a new district court judge. All right. Somebody was on the phone. Sorry. Hello. I forget the people. The phone said the people been holding on for 15 minutes and 11 seconds. Sorry.
You know that I would wait for you.
Oh, Lord. Go ahead. What's up?
With regard to the crowded field, what do you think? You being Jamila as a person that knows politics, what do you think the crowded field would do? Don't you think that it would cause no candidate or no group, no team to get a landslide and would probably just squeak in? What do you think?
No.
You don't think so?
Nope. I feel okay. No, I feel that we will know who the governor of the Virgin Islands is the weekend of the Democratic primary.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So really candidates, and I don't know why all of these Democrats ain't campaigning harder. I would have been on the campaign trail. There's so much information out there. Like I said, I gave an honest assessment of the things that I think each of the candidates have to answer to. All of the no, there's no perfect, and I need for the community to understand this. There's no perfect candidate, because perfection is a perfection is a myth,
Okay.
But
go ahead.
I said there's no perfect candidate, but of the top three that the top three big hats that showed themselves, and then Jed John Hope, who I only saw like 2 or 3 people in his shirt by pictures on Facebook. It could have had more. I did not go to the fair.
Okay.
I feel like all of them need to be campaigning. They're quiet. Like everybody's silent about the fact that they're running. Everybody acting like they still in consideration mode. Stacey Plaskett, we know you're running with Milton Pata. Take down them signs that said Team Plaskett and put up Plaskett Pata. Tregenza and Novell running together. You need to put up Roach Francis, right? Come up with a RF. Come up with your thing. Donna Fred Gregory running with the boy Rodney Moorhead. We need not to see Fred Gregory Moorhead signs around. People. The election is going to be decided in August, and y'all taking long to come out the gate. I am the kind of person, if I was on anybody's political team, I would my political strategy would have been we needed to be annihilating our competition. All of this stuff about you need to play nice. No, you need to lay the cards on the table. I have stated all of the teams, the issues that exist that I see with the teams, right? And you needed, as the person who's running against them, you needed to be highlighting their issues and asking them, where is your plan? And that's another thing. After you've pointed out their faults, right, which I have highlighted, I need to hear a plan. I am from St. Croix. I cannot vote for a candidate that does not have a plan of action to tell me how you are going to turn around the economy on St. Croix. This whole adage about all of the money goes into one coffers is nonsense. Because while all of the money goes into one general fund, right? How people live in each of the districts are important. So while if the government is collecting $140 million in income taxes, and $120 million come from the St. Thomas St. John district, that means there's only $20 million in income taxes being generated on St. Croix. That tells you how the people on St. Croix are living. We need to boost the economy of St. Croix. And if a candidate, I don't care who the candidate is, if they don't have a plan for St. Croix, toodaloo, toodalay, it's time to break away. Steady walk, daddy. Steady walk. You know?
Well, yeah, but let me just say this and go. And even though you and I are from two different political schools or tutoring, you being on the Democratic side, I from a very strong ICM side, we are saying the same thing. To me then, because it is so silent of a campaign, but I don't
but then there's a survey going around, and the Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands look like they want to give the people a 6 for 9 and have the primary all year to help the candidate that they want. So because I say August, but the chair, Carol Buck, tell me she coming up after fair. Fair done, Carol. The seat is open. The fair done. You know, we can't, and it would be unfair. And if the Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands does that, a registered voter needs to take the party to court. Have it in August. Don't let them try to move it up so that they can hedge their bets. And they call handicapping. So they can handicap the race. You think I don't know horse race terminology? They want a handicap for their candidates.
For me then, it says that those candidates, whatever, are not listening to the people. I mean, maybe the people are not speaking.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that. These people, listen, they don't play a different kind of politics from me, because I ain't doing that with Ayo. I need hearings. Okay, gotta go. Okay, bye-bye.
We're going to see what happens.
All right. Okay, bye-bye. All right. So this week in the legislature, and I'm going to take it back from, somebody says they want me to go over the candidates, the people running again. I want me to name some of these foolish people. I mean, some of these very good. What do you mean it can't be August? August is when the primary is. Peggy, you need to stop texting me and Colleen. It's August. Hold on. Let me get the thing again. Adla Fancy Donastorg, no running mate. Armando Rocky Leibod, no running mate. Dana Fred Gregory running with Rodney Moorhead. Gustav James, no running mate. They said Court Viale running with Marvin Blyden. I called both of them during the break, and they said no habla English. So y'all, that's my coffee I sharing with y'all. Jeb John, is a boy named Jeb with a B or Jed with a D? I don't know tell me what his name is. John Hope, no running mate. Oakland Benta running with Pagwan Prasad. He has a meeting February 28th. Gustav James also running with Randolph Bennett. So them two gone up together. Roy Sheridan, no running mate. Sheldon Turnbull, no running mate. Sheila Scullion, no running mate. Stacy Plaskett, Milton Potter. Stephen Fred, no running mate. Terrence Positive Nelson, no running mate. Tregenza Roach, Novell E. Francis Jr., Warren Mosler, and somebody named Colin Robinson. Now, so that is what they're saying right here. That's as of today. So, Viale them said they're running for the Senate. I don't know, but rumor mill have it. He running with Blyden. We'll see. But where else we there? No, Terrence Positive Nelson, unless he become a millionaire, he know last time he didn't run because he said he can't pay for a running mate. You don't have to pay. He said you don't have to pay your running mate. If you don't have to pay your running mate, how come nobody offered me to run? I would run. I would run so I could go to these forums and rag up people on the floor. Listen, any gubernatorial candidate that from St. Thomas and Nita St. Croix running me, pick me. Let me pick me. I speak well. I know the issues. I can out debate a lot of them. Yeah, I would be good for your team. I just joking, by the way. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, and how are you?
I am blessed and highly favored, like you are saying.
Yes, I am.
Good morning to your listening audience.
Good morning. Go ahead.
I guess you want a present today that they had that hearing in the legislature, Carol and Supervisor Fox.
I was.
Okay, well, it was clearly explained that the Democrats have to have their selection, whether it's a primary caucus or whatever, way before the nomination papers are required. And that's, I think, in April or May.
That don't even make sense.
Okay? It makes sense because the primary is totally under the responsibility of the political party. The election system has nothing to do with it.
I understand.
And therefore, the selection of the Democrats have to be made in order to then file their nomination papers with the election system, which happens, I believe it's May, I'm not sure. But it definitely can't wait until August.
Well, it has to be August. First and foremost, they can't change, and that's the problem. Carolyn, they could say what they want to say, because prior to the election system and when the nomination paper, and that's what I'm saying, Carolyn Fox and Carol Buck, they was playing games with the people of the Virgin Islands because they want to hedge the bets for wherever candidate, because they have a poll going around asking if the election is held today. So they're trying to have the election held sooner. No, the primary has to be in August, and Carolyn needs to prepare the ballot for November. Then, yes.
The election system has nothing to do with the selection.
Exactly. But Peggy, that's fine. So what you're saying, Peggy, is that then the people of the Virgin Islands are left disenfranchised because you can't vet candidates because the party is responsible for holding their primary? That don't make no sense.
No, it's for the party to notify their registered Democrats as to what they're doing in selecting their candidates. That's the party's responsibility.
And while it might be the party's responsibility, we need to get away from this. Oh, whose responsibility? When it comes to an election, we need to get away from whose responsibility and talk about fairness, transparency. And there's no fairness and there's no fairness and transparency. There's no fairness and transparency when you're about to tell me that Carolyn Fox is saying that you have to have prior to whatever imaginary deadline or whatever deadline she has created. No, the election is in November. So if the party decides to hold their primary in August, that is more than ample time for Carolyn Fox to get a ballot prepared. Because when the Board of Elections or the election systems, whichever one it was hosting the primary on a Saturday, and the election system was holding it the first Saturday in August, they still had enough time to get the ballots printed. So don't come to me with no cacamini deadline. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The timelines can be adhered to.
Judge Malloy, that was before.
But Judge Malloy did not speak to timelines, Peggy. The judge didn't say. The judge, Peggy. The judge. Jesus.
Do their own selection of candidates because of the case with the Republicans.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll agree to disagree.
Well, we're going to.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. It makes no sense. The judge ruled that the party must hold the election. The judge didn't say that the primary have to be held before the nomination papers. Those those timelines are timelines created by Ms. Fox. And if the Democratic Party attempts to move the primary election, they're attempting to do so to disenfranchise the 30,000 registered Democrats that are not dues paying. And those people can take them to court for being disenfranchised. Come on, stop the foolishness. Elections are for the people, by the people, and of the people, and it must be fair and transparent. Carol, you need to come up here. Good morning.
Yes, morning. I've been holding a long time now.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait, but I had an introduction. I think I recognize your voice. I needed to speak before, but go ahead. You go ahead, and then I'll do a wrap up.
Yes, morning, everybody. This is Jamila, Charles. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the hearing, the senators and our organization, People Protecting Places. I just wanted to take this time to say we ain't gonna drop the ball again. 3 years, almost 4 years ago, we dropped the ball when we had the town hall meeting and Robert Apfel promised that he will not build his distillery. He went ahead and built the distillery, us thinking he was an honest man and he would have stick by his word. He didn't do that. So listen out for us to keep this fight. We're going to expose who Robert Apfel really is and what he's doing to the Virgin Islands. And we still left in a quagmire here because he's still operating his distillery and polluting our land, our aquifer, and our coastal waters, our beaches. So I would like to know and people respect that we have to keep this fight going. We don't have nothing against development. We are for development in the right places. We're not happy that the bill was tabled to adjust and let he come into compliance or wherever the vibes is towards that. We don't want a distillery on every agricultural land or residential land. We don't want it treated there on that land because a distillery producing industrial waste. He needs to move from there and him come into compliance like any other Virgin Islander would have had to do. We who vote for the senators, we would have had to come into compliance and do what we have to do rather than leave somebody with a big set of money operating illegally and we said trying to accommodate him. Now, Jamila, are you familiar with the legislative process and how it works? And I would like to ask you what's your feeling as to how this bill going to be approached?
Well, I wanted, I had a whole discussion about you today. I wanted, and you can stay on the line. I wanted to tell the people of the Virgin Islands that it was Friday. The meeting was Thursday. On Thursday, I was proud to say that I hailed from Frederiksted, that Alice Charles, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Charles, who I've known all my life from WIM, came and laid out and presented testimony that impressed, I think, every senator that was present. I think that every senator paid attention to the testimony provided, and as such, the bill, which was bill number 36-0211, that was introduced by the Senate President by request of the governor. Now, I want to explain that for a second. The governor can send down pieces of legislation to the Senate, as he typically does, and most senators, Senate presidents, file it typically. Well, when I worked in the office of the Senate President, let me just speak for myself, and I could speak a little bit for when Novell and Shauna were, Shauna was the chief of staff of Novell, but a lot of times you would have to do a lot of substantial changes to what a governor sent down if you intend on introducing the measure to the floor. Some presidents introduce all the measures that the governor has sent down, and that seems to be the case with Milton Potter. Other senators, such like the one I work for, if we thought it was not beneficial to the people of the Virgin Islands, you circulate it, as is your duty to all members of the legislature. And if somebody else wanted to bring it, they brought it. But Senator Fred Gregory at the time was not about to introduce something that she was not in support of at the request of the governor. That being said, the governor cannot introduce any measure into the legislature. A senator has to introduce it. So the bill was introduced by request of the governor. So this was not a bill that Senator Milton Potter sat in his office and wrote up. It was verbatim, with the minor changes that the legislature makes, what the governor submitted to the legislature of the Virgin Islands. And so when it came before the body, and I am speaking strictly from a legislative standpoint, because I think the people of the Virgin Islands need to understand this. Bill number 36.0211 is not a bill about Robert Apfel. It is not. There is no legislatively. Let's not confuse the people of the Virgin Islands. The bill is not a bill about rezoning if it was about Robert Apfel, it would have been what we're going to be hearing on Monday, where you go through a rezoning hearing or a use variance through the DPNR, and then that one plot of land is the only property that is impacted. That is not what bill number 36.0211 is. Bill, can I ask you? Wait, let me finish. Bill number 36.0211 is a measure that impacts St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and it seeks to change the code, which is the law, to allow and to redefine agricultural products, agricultural processing, and it seeks to allow in the R1 and R2 zones the ability for home business for alcohol manufacturing. So this bill isn't just and the bill is not about one person. This bill impacts our entire territory. It impacts St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. I can't speak to the governor's intent, and as a person who is from Frederiksted, it appears to me, as it does to, I am guessing to yourself, Miss Charles, that they have to appease this guy or to help this guy. They want to mess up the whole of the Virgin Islands just to get one person's operation approved. That may be the governor's intention. I can't speak to that. It appears so. However, I need for the people in St. Thomas and the people in St. John to understand that if the code, once the code is amended, ain't just amended for St. Croix, it is amended for the territory. You say you wanted to ask me a question. Go ahead.
Would this bill be before the legislature had Robert Apfel and Prosperity Rum Distillery not been operated? Would this bill be before the legislature if he didn't build that distillery?
I don't know when that bill come down, I could tell.
I know.
Wait, I can tell you. I can tell you. And and it's funny because I think the governor, hold on one second. I trying to find the information so it could be accurate, but hold on. 26-02 36-0211.
There's an article in the consortium in 2025 where the governor said that he's going to be bringing this bill. So, and that distillery was already operating.
Okay. Well, you remember and let me just for 0211. My phone won't let me go back so far. I don't know when the bill was sent down from the governor, but the bill number is 36-0211. So I would suppose that it may have. I don't know the timeline for when it was sent down.
The date and the performed copy of the bill is November 17th.
Yeah, that just means that's the date. That just means that's the date we get out of legal counsel. So that's not the date it was actually filed or when the governor sent down.
Could we confidently say that bill came out in 2025 when the distillery was already operating?
I don't know that. I know that I can tell you what I know. I can't speak to what I don't know. I can't speak to what I don't know, but I do know that back in, I want to say either 2021 or 2022, an amendment was passed that struck that amended the code and struck they just like 4 words which allowed for the operations.
That was striking in the definition of agricultural
processing. Yeah, rum. The last clause. Yeah, they struck the last clause. I want to believe it was in either 2021 or 2022.
2022.
It was in 2022. Okay, and then after that, I think subsequent to that, there was a measure to repeal that particular provision, which was a few months later. So that would take us into 2023, if my memory serves me correctly.
Let me correct you. The town hall was around, I think actually it was, I don't know, but it was a day that I would have never forget. And the town hall happened, and Genevieve Whitaker immediately, like the next week, put in for the repeal. And that was definitely 2022.
Okay.
And the repeal happened in August, I believe, 2020. I have the document. So,
okay.
Yes.
So the repeal happened. Okay, so the repeal happened. So so that occurred, and then so the governor may have sent down the bill in 2025, to your point.
Correct.
Yeah. However, we do know, and I have said it here, that the gentleman, and you have to have a respect for your law, and there are processes available. And the process that's available is that if you want to operate and your zoning does not allow you to operate, you go through the proper channels and you request either a rezoning or a use variance. And those two processes involve public hearing, public scrutiny, the public come out, the public get to talk. I can agree with you that it appears that this measure was sent down to circumvent those public hearings that's required when you're doing a request for a zoning change or a use variance, right? I cannot. No. But that's what I'm saying. It appears that this is a circumvention. However, I can also state that I have been on this radio station talking about this Brahma that he has created, that so many people are in recognition that, even if the agricultural processing aside, you are operating outside the scope of a law by operating a Brahma. And for that alone, I believe, contrary to, and I mean, JP is not the commissioner of DLCA or the commissioner of health or the director of fire, but those other 3 entities are within their legal right to revoke license and to close him down for the improper and illegal operations, because JP testified. JP testified. Yeah, and
I'm very particular. There's no license to be revoked. He never had a license. The only license he has is for commercial farming. So there's no license whatsoever for all the other stuff.
Which makes it even worse. Then they need to when they see an advertisement, just like everybody else see an advertisement for a Bram happening there, they need to go and tell him it can't happen there. If a promoter is promoting there, they need to contact the promoter, because the promoter should have a business license, and tell the promoter you can't use a facility because it's unlicensed. People, we need to start it. There are mechanisms in place, but we need to be enforcing.
Let me allow me to say that the Virgin Islands musicians, promoters, some of them actually mad with me, because I've spoken directly to one promoter. I've spoken to a few musicians, and they vex with me because they feel they need a venue to play. And there were venues on the island before that illegal operation start the mess.
Okay.
So it's a sad situation that our people can't see themselves and see this guy for who he is, and especially.
But let me tell you something, and I want for the public, and I want for you to understand this, and for the public to understand this, right? The legislature of the Virgin Islands, the bill that is in front of the legislature of the Virgin Islands, and I work for the legislature, and people gonna accuse me of singing for my supper, but I'm about educating the public. The bill that is in front of the legislature is not a bill regarding estate prosperity. It's a bill amending Title 9, Chapter 7 of the Virgin Islands Code, which speaks to the planning and zoning requirements. Now, the legislature cannot write a bill to stop one person from doing something that he isn't doing. The legislature's job is to write bills in the best interest of the people of the territory. And as such, the legislature, from what I heard, because I was at the hearing, and I know that my boss, the gentleman that I work for, Clifford Joseph, has filed amendments to restrict certain activities, especially in residential areas. You can't have, I heard JP say, oh, somebody in your neighborhood should be able to make beer in their kitchen and sell it. Come on, that's not what it is. So, and how you allow nail businesses in R1 and R2. Those are, that's mixing apples and oranges at this point. But nobody wants a microbrewery or a micro distillery, which under the federal law requires a federal permit by the TBB to operate in their neighborhood. I can't have a house and I sleeping good at night and somebody comes there. Now, as it pertains to agricultural land, and I am just speaking from the research that I have done to help my boss draft an amendment, that there are in every other jurisdiction, they allow for agricultural land to be used for farmers to use once they're growing the breadfruit, or they're growing the whatever potato, if they're growing the cane on their property, they allow agricultural land to have microbreweries and micro distilleries. However, what is significantly missing, and that was missing from the bill that the governor sent down, is the portion that addresses the concerns that you have. We are only 84 square miles. When you mash it up, we can't move 10 miles to the east or 10 miles to the west. When it mash up, it mash up. And so you have to have safeguards in it. The lady from the first Black woman that is brew rum and things, she said it best. She said New York have strict requirements. The EPA does come out to her side. She have to have a drum where all of her things do go in, and she have to treat it and then treat it again. She have 2 treatment things that she have to go through before even could be used and enter into New York's septic system. And that is where and that was my disappointment from the government's side. We didn't hear about, yes, you want to allow these businesses, but to your point in your testimony, there's no discussion on how are you going to dispose of your waste material? How can we ensure that the waste doesn't end up in the water or down in the soil? And absent of that, I don't think that you can have it. You have to have the safeguards in place.
Jamila, allow me.
Go ahead.
Uninterrupted.
Go ahead.
We keep comparing ourselves one to New York and California and the States, period. This is a little piece of island where hop, skip, and a jump you on the beach. Hop, skip, and a jump, you have an aquifer right there that's being affected. Stop comparing what they're doing in the States, first of all. Second, somebody just text me and tell me I should focus on the bill and not focus on Robert Apfel and Rum Distillery. And I highly defer or disagree with that, because I'm going to repeat, this bill would not be before the legislature if Robert Apfel didn't go and bill his illegal and against the will of the people, against the will of the senators, with them voting for the repeal. This bill would not be in front of the legislature. You can't separate him from the bill. It is impossible. It is totally cut. There's other distilleries operating. There's little small ones already operating here. You come off the bypass and you make a left. There's a little one right there. And I'd like to say, I've been there and I spoke to that man, and the man told me, listen, I would never distill sugarcane juice because of a white fungus that took over or takes over the room. There's mutiny operating, and I believe they're illegal too. That property is not zoned for that. There's places where you could do them things. There are places where you can do them. Why do we need a new bill? Because what? Robert Apfel decides he's going to defy the people of the Virgin Islands, defy our laws, and build this distillery. And now our Senator BLA in 2020 to try to accommodate him, he realized election year he's going to lose votes. So he too vote for the repeal, mind you. And now comes that didn't work. This man is down there operating illegally. And now comes this bill from the governor. And the governor has been in the illegal operation. He's been there. So how are I going to try to separate the bill from him? Everybody know that bill would have never been there. And we have to get personal about this thing, because it is personal. You come in my house and you throw oil on my floor, I'm going to get vexed. It's personal. You come in my bigger house, the Virgin Islands, where I don't walk, and I was intending to start using the beach because before it was under bush, and I didn't feel comfortable going through bush to go on up beach. Now that I clear it up and I clean, I was intending. And here it is, this man doing what he's doing. Do not separate this bill from this prosperity distillery. And this whole talk about culture, cane growing and plantation and rum distillation happened here in the 1760s when we were slaves. That is not my culture, what I did or my ancestors did when they were slaves.
And you will get no argument. And Alice, you will get no argument from me. I like I said, you will get no argument from me. because listen, Alice, I work in an institution and I know how the institution works. And when you personalize it, it doesn't advance your cause. Let me put it that way. And I am saying, I am looking strictly at the bill. A bill is coming. A bill is going to come. The issue is how do you draft a bill to ensure that I don't think that growing cane and people wanting to revisit slavery days is anything that I would ever participate in. I don't want to think about the horrors inflicted on my ancestors by going back to the cane fields. My grandmother's family came up here to cut cane as a way to have a better life for themselves, and they struggled. I don't want to go back to revisit their struggle. So I feel you and I hear you on it. But I work in an institution, and part of my job and the person that I work for is to make sure that something is written that is palatable. Because not every senator, and not every person that's elected sees it the way we see it, that you and I may see it. So
I asked the people at the Virgin Islands to start studying what is finance. And this thing about putting measures in place. You have India, you have Brazil, who's the world's biggest sugarcane manufacturers or producers of sugar and so forth. Okay? And them go in them articles, and you got to go deep further down, not in the beginning, where they tell you, although this vinasse is being treated, it still is a problem for them. It's that serious. It still is. People go and start to read, do the research, and don't believe unless they completely enclose that thing through what I call it, anaerobic digestion. And I shouldn't say until, even if they do anaerobic digestion, which is a totally enclosed situation, okay, they still have to discharge the treated waste. And even that is still having an issue in countries, the big producers like Brazil and India. So this thing
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. In terms of microbrewery and agricultural land, because I want to say this because I know a statement was made about rum is not food. I think that we need to begin the argument with all of these farmers who have government farmland that ain't growing food, right? So we are, that's another conversation we need to have. And so when we talk about it, we need to speak about it and speak to all of these farmers who tying up government property with long-term leases and in produce and harvest the first potato yet. But I am talking, Alice, what I'm saying is that if somebody, agriculture just isn't about, agriculture just isn't food that you eat. That's not the definition of agriculture. It's just not food that you consume. So if I'm a farmer and I'm not on government land, I'm on my private land, and it's already zoned for agriculture, and I want to have a micro distillery on my agricultural property, I do think that there can be a path forward where those two can coexist. I think that it can coexist. I mean, Mutiny is making stuff with breadfruit, people making stuff with potato. I mean, if sugar cane is of particular issue, if the issue is this particular plant, right, then that's a discussion. But you don't throw away the baby with the bath water.
Well, I don't throw the baby with the bath water. And then let me just say this, right? If the only amendment I would agree with, or we as the people protecting places, is that they don't allow any cane distillation. Okay? And they're playing with words on spirit and rum and liqueur and gin and all of that.
No, but spirit, those words are different. those words are defined by the TBB, so he can't play with those. Those are defined.
No, but we our people don't study things deep enough. That's why he began with the things he began.
Oh, okay.
Antarctica, try to mix up our side of things. Anyhow, if you want to make an amendment, if you want to allow distilleries and agricultural land, put in there except for cane distillation.
Okay.
We would agree with that. Except for cane distillation. That's where the problem is.
Okay.
Mutiny is not a problem with day breadfruit. It's a different way. And you hear that lady, the master distiller in the States, and they're playing this race card. But they bring up a black one from me, and that ain't convincing to me.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's 10 o'clock on the dot.
All of them don't use sugar. All of them don't use sugar. Using sugar done went through the process where the waste have been removed.
Yeah. So, okay, but when Alice, it's 10 o'clock on the dot. I have to go. The billing coming before the legislature next week, so we can continue this discussion next week Saturday, because we have to. And I agree with the vast majority of what you're saying, but for the public, I need to make sure that the public understand that the measure that is in front of the legislature does not impact just what happens out at Prosperity Farms. It impacts St. Thomas, St. John, and if the bill was allowed to be passed as it was written, you could have been in Tutu and your neighbor pop a distillery brewing 100 gallons of wherever they were growing. And I do know, and I do know that Senator Clifford Joseph has filed amendments to remove them from residential, so that you can't have it in residential areas. I think Senator Francis has introduced an amendment to ban some kind of pesticide from the territory. I can't remember the name of it because I get preempted by him. And then I got preempted by Senator VLA, which he has filed an amendment for some safeguards. So I know that there's 3 amendments, and Senator Blyden also had an amendment. I don't know what his amendment was, but there's amendments after the bill. It's still, I don't know. Whenever Senator James, her next committee meeting, probably in August, in April, I would think. But I have to go. Okay. All right. No problem, sweetheart. Call again. Okay, bye-bye. All right. Guys, I don't know how to be anybody but just Jamila. I see Karabok commenting, if farmers don't comply with the terms of leases, how are they allowed to operate on the land? Nonsense. Karabok, what is nonsense is we don't know what's going on with the Democratic primary. Come up next week, Saturday. Let's have a discussion. I don't know how to be anybody but just Jamila, and I happen to like being just Jamila and know that when the legislature writes a bill, it's written for the best interest of all of the people for the Virgin Islands, or it should be written for all of the people of the Virgin Islands. And so we will be watching, and we will be keeping you up to date. And next week we'll talk some more about, politics season. The horses are on the track. Until then, bye-bye.
Stand up for the law. Stand up